Psychedelics are energy. They're flavored energy. Not that different than like a supplement or something. However, they
Mhm.
might be very potent. There's a lot of different kinds of psychedelics. They do different things. So the details matter a lot.
Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman. Everybody, Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. I'm so grateful to be here with you today, and I have a fantastic guest, wonderful leader in psychedelics and consciousness and all that sort of stuff. So we're gonna talk some psychedelics. We don't talk about a lot here. I have had guests on and we've dived into it, but we're gonna do more of a dive in today. Now, psychedelics for me, I'm like, yeah, not so much, and so it'll be a good discussion because I'm gonna be very curious about the subject. I know it helps a lot of people, but I also know that it has its dangers. It has its warning signs, and as well. So there's a lot. There's a lot that goes into it, and so I think you're going to get some really unique perspectives from our guest today, Jonathan Mozenter. And because he definitely has the background and the wisdom about how to approach doing these things wisely. So, Jonathan, it's really good to have you on the show today.
Excited to be here, Daniel. This is a topic I'm very passionate about, and psychedelics for high performance. And
Okay.
the
Yeah.
details are everything. So I'm here to answer all your questions and help the right people who are called to this to do it in a way that they can really bring their life next level. I'm all about positive transformation.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely for high performance. And so there is the opportunity for people to take things to another level. Now, for high performance, so if we talk about, because we were talking about like, yeah, for high performance, for ascension, for all these different things. Now, some people, I think about, I was listening to podcast, School of Greatness, and the host there and everything. He's multiple times I've heard him mention about psychedelics. He's like, I've done all this deep, deep work for a long time, and and I did it with no psychedelics, and I don't know what it would have been like if I had tried psychedelics, and I was always told not to use drugs and stuff. He's from like Christian Science and all this.
Hmm.
And but he's seen people change, but he says he's also seen disasters for people too. So,
Hmm.
but he's broken through emotional barriers and whatnot. And that's what, certain psychological, spiritual things that haven't opened up for people. Of course, psychedelics we know can help with that. People have really incredible experiences, have whole new businesses download into them. All kinds of things happen, with
Hmm.
psychedelics, right? So that's what probably most people have already heard is that. Um, so. But if somebody is like, what would be the indication that like, for somebody to be like, yeah, maybe I should be taking a look at psychedelics? What would be some of the like signs if they haven't you really used it before?
How do I know psychedelics are right for me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, first off, let's just break things down. I'm gonna make things simple. Psychedelics are energy. They're flavored energy. Not that different than like a supplement or something. However, they
Mhm.
might be very potent. There's a lot of different kinds of psychedelics. They do different things. So the details matter a lot. And that's where I want to start with precision. So let's start with your question. How do we know it's good for you? Well, do you feel called to it? If you don't feel called to it, don't do it because then you're already biasing and bringing a negative energy into it. So you don't have to use psychedelics or altered states. Well, let me break that up because psychedelics are an altered state. You can get into an altered state in a zillion different ways. Exercise can put you in an altered state. Taking a shower can have an altered state. Sex is an altered state. I mean, just getting sleepy. The variance between different states can illuminate new perspectives. New perspectives can take you down a really positive path, but like you mentioned, can also screw people up. If you don't know how to integrate what happened to you, it could send you on a path that's not optimal. So let's start there. safety is always the most important thing, not just with psychedelics, but in general, because if you're not safe, nothing else matters. Uh, so if you're new to psychedelics, go slow. You don't like do like the most powerful ones right away. Do something simple. Get some CBD oil. That doesn't always put you on it, but it can. Start small or smoke an edible, a marijuana edible, for example, a little more tamer than like jumping into ayahuasca, or something. It's like which is a lot more intense. So baby steps. So first off, you should feel called to it. Uh, and I want to break the psychedelic experience into three parts. There's preparation, probably the most important part, honestly, because it sets the stage for everything that happens afterwards. Okay. It's like the prime. Boom. If you don't set it up right, it's not likely to go as well. Right. And then there's the day or night when you have the experience, and then the integration. They're all critical. In fact, probably the day of might be the least important of the three, because if you don't do the other two right, you're not going to get a lot out of it. A lot of people do psychedelics and they have a good story, but not their life doesn't change. That's okay. I'm here to transformation. I am a psychedelic expert, but that's not my headline. I'm a transformation expert. I've studied that my entire life. I have a background in organizational development, which is also called change management. I've worked with a lot of esoteric teachers of mastering your mind, mastering your energy, mastering your patterns of life. But my passion is transformation. Psychedelics are just a tool, right? They're an energy tool. They get you to different states. So the first thing, who's it for? Well, you got to feel a calling. And if you want to work with someone like me, you have a calling for growth. I'm not really interested in lots of people can do it for fun. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not what I'm here personally to do on the planet. But you can have fun and grow at the same time. So yeah. So just the last one I want to think about safety, a couple quick safety tips. If you're new, like remind yourself this will end because whatever your experience is, and also whatever's coming up, remind yourself this is just an experience. It's open to interpretation. All of life is open to interpretations. This is a teaching. I know Daniel and I share meditation as something, and a lot of meditators talk about this thing called emptiness. Well, what does emptiness even really mean? It's like whatever your initial interpretation of what you think is some fine experience, empty. It's like it doesn't mean it's wrong or nihilistic. It's really saying maybe like it could be that or maybe something else. And when you see it as empty, you allow it to see it look again with fresh eyes. And that's what you want to do with a psychedelic experience, because often they're confusing messages, and you might want to see it from a lot of perspectives before you make it any solid meaning. Because if you think it means something super negative, you're probably not integrating it right. So having other people to talk to about it is also really important. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's what I've always heard is, do you feel a calling towards it? Because I was like, for me, I've never had the feeling like I want to do that, and like ayahuasca and stuff like that. I mean, in high school, I smoked marijuana or whatever, two, three times or something like that, not a bunch. And I had some really weird experiences with it back then, which is kind of interesting. But I also I feel like for me, I'm in an I can go into altered states pretty easily. So I wonder about that. And yeah, I bet there's people who go all
Mhm.
kinds of altered states. I know them that
Mhm.
feel called to psychedelics. I don't even think that, because some people say, well, it's because you're open already, or I'm like, yeah, but there's other people that are open, but they still feel called to it. So it's a curiosity, like why are some people called to it? Like anything else, I guess maybe it doesn't, we can't always have the answer, right? But like, I'm just curious. Why some people called
Uh,
to it, why some people not called to it? If you have any illumination on that, I'd be curious to know. But
um, well, I mean, every context is God. With this idea of when I say context is God, I mean making the symbol of the cross, which is on my little brand here. I'm talking about Ken Wilber's quadrants, and really what he's saying is we're a byproduct of all these different factors, right? So we're a byproduct of our history, right? Our psychology, stuff happened in our family, stuff that's happened in our life, our body, what's going on with our body, our physical environment, the culture we grow up in, or the culture we're in now, whether it's your family or your town or what you watch, digest on TV, all the systems, the weather, the astrology. So we're a byproduct of a lot of forces. So
Mm.
anytime you're asking a question of why some people and why not others, you have to look at the different forces. So I don't think there's like one universal answer, but I think, for example, you have a positive affiliation. A lot of people have a negative association with psychedelics. Like, was it Nancy Reagan say no to drugs? Or they something about their religion or their group. Everyone's just like, it's evil, it's wrong, or they know somebody who, flipped out and they're like, I'm not doing it. Like I'm not like for example, I'm open-minded about psychedelics, but when I was like, this is not a psychedelic, but it's at least it fits into the story. I'm a big basketball fan, and I really liked Len Bias. Was a college basketball player for Maryland. He got drafted by the Celtics, and then he died through a cocaine overdose. So like right away, right there, that affected me in a big way. I was like, I wasn't doing any psychedelic, any kind of drugs at all in high school, but I knew from that day forward, it's like I'm not touching cocaine. Like I don't know, it can kill you fast. I'm out. You know what I mean? So like that colored it, but I didn't. But also my dad was into the Grateful Dead, so and I got really into like Led Zeppelin and those associations of more mystical experiences. So for me, growing up in college, I did a lot of marijuana, and it worked for me. It helped me. It made me thought provoking. I tried some mushrooms and LSD, and what were those experiences amazing? This is before I knew how to use them for high performance, but I want to create a little bit of contrast because it's going to lead me into an important point. Um, they were interesting because the intention matters. I was just like, I don't know, my friends are doing it. I'm curious, and I had a range of different experiences with it, but they were not the experiences I had with psychedelics and the experiences this is as you're talking about when I'm like late teens or 20s. Now I'm like I didn't start really getting into these psychedelics till after I started meditating. So by then I was already having altered state experiences without psychedelics, and I was guided to ayahuasca particularly. And I was doing it with spiritual intention. When I say spiritual intention, my spiritual intention was to master my Vajrayana Buddhist practice, to be a better Jonathan, to show up in the world, to be useful. That's different than just taking them for recreational and I'll see what happens. Intention is everything. It is so important. More, write this down. This is a pro tip. Better questions, better answers. You're by telling the medicine or your intention, the universe, like is your intention? You're kind of telling the universe what you're ready, what kind of experience you're ready for. So you really want to get in. So I think a person to answer your question about like why, I think some people just grow up environments where it's more open. Sometimes if you like, if you're in a marriage or something and your partner's like a big no, or you're living with your parents and everyone's like, that might be a big, like, I don't really, like, so I didn't do it when I was living at
Factor,
home,
right? I
right?
mean,
Yeah, it's a
it's a
huge factor.
factor. Yeah, you're gonna, even if you realize, okay, this is a different type of deal, than ODing on cocaine or what have you, it's still like the idea, like drugs, no drugs, no drugs, like so we've got
Yes.
it strongly hammered into our consciousness. So I could see, yeah, people. But I mean, I get like this idea, like people being called to it, and like anything else, like some of us are called to, have nine cats in the house. I mean,
Hmm.
maybe not so much, right? I mean, I think like it just has to do with something that our soul may or may not be drawn to as well, right? Like what we
Yes.
need in this lifetime to connect with, and I think that's all part of it too, is what I sense. So.
Well, let me talk to your audience or even you, the part of you who's not interested in psychedelics. Uh, I'm talking about using states. My expertise is how to get into different energy states and use it for growth. Now, psychedelics are hot right now, so I feel called not to leverage it just for Jonathan, although it's a good time to get into psychedelics, but because I know a lot of people who use psychedelics not intelligently at all. When I was on a psychedelic, I was on psilocybin. I literally got a download from the spirit. This was like 4 years ago. And it was like, Jonathan, the psychedelics are getting a lot bigger and a lot of people don't know what they're doing. It's dangerous. You don't do it the way other people do it. We're asked the spiritual hierarchy or whatever, the Dharmakaya, whatever, the Father, whatever you want to call this transpersonal energy, made it very clear to me, like, you'd be great. You'd be so, you asked, because I had asked the universe like 6 years earlier or something. Or, yeah, it was like, yeah, 6 years earlier. I was like, things are messed up. How can I help? And I didn't know what would happen. And then later it's like, well, part of how you can help is to actually bring your tools to the psychedelic space. But for all those people who are not into psychedelics, you can get into an altered state through breath work. You could just go for a long bicycle ride or a run and get into an altered state. And the things I would teach the psychedelics users would be the same thing I teach you. It's not really about psychedelics. It's about state changes and how do you use state changes for growth. So maybe that would, I don't know if that helps for you and
Yeah.
other your users. I'm not on the like everyone needs to do psychedelics bandwagon. That's not it at all. I'm just
Great.
saying when you get into altered states, it opens you up. It opens you up to new perspectives, new experiences, expanding growth. And if you know how to use those states with intelligence, then you could go faster, further. So somebody who's been in all kinds of altered states, I don't just use psychedelics. I've done lots of breath work. I've done something called like a harmonic egg. You sit in this egg with music and stuff.
Yeah.
You can do it in a lot of different ways. There's endless ways, there's almost infinite number of ways to do altered states, not just psychedelics. I call myself a psycho spiritual stacker. Now, what does that mean? I bring like distinctions of transformation, like how to master your mind. I'm really big into that. I've studied that like with a lot of Vajrayana Buddhist masters, and as well as Western psychology. But like how to, so there's the psychology part because everything goes through consciousness. You know, it's undeniable. Yeah, everything you perceive, your five senses, including if you go, even including your transpersonal intuition, it all shows up in consciousness. So if you understand how to use this consciousness, it's good for everybody, right? And then when I say spiritual, I mean like life. Life is like the spirit, the essence of it. Life has patterns. What is our relationship to life? So what I do is I stack understanding of life, like particularly the process of transformation, because I'm using it for high performance, as well as like metaphysical patterns and mind patterns, and we're taking those protocols as well as like ways to get you into different states, and we're aiming it towards your dreams. Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And I'm very precise, so happy to give examples about what I mean like that. And it's one of those things. What I love about it, because I love growth, is it. There's a lot to it. So there's like a beginner level, intermediate, advanced, very advanced, and it just because you can bring more and more things together for more and more, uh, you know, rapid transformation. So it's a skill set, a capacity building skill set that I feel passionate to bring to the world for people who are open to be in altered states, regardless of how they get there. So I want to make that clear.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free meditate, make money meditation today. Right. I know you're not attached to, what people are drawn to, and you do talk a lot about, altered states and the different ways, and not only through, psychedelics. I get that. So, well, let's talk about, maybe we can sort of talk about both camps, like the people
Hmm.
are to get into psychedelics, the people that want to maybe make good use of altered states, and all the other ways they can do it.
Yes.
So let's say for people who are maybe more called into not doing psychedelics, maybe we will start there a little bit. So let's say, yeah, I'm just a hard no, or it just doesn't feel right, and all that, and I don't be puking, doing ayahuasca, whatever it is. People tell me that it's like it feels like they're dying. That doesn't sound too fun,
Yeah.
They have that perspective on it, right? Or whatever may be the case. So,
That
uh,
can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, so what are, let's say they're doing, what's the typical seeker doing? Typically they're reading, they're meditating here and there, they're not, full on, and they might
Hmm.
be at a book club. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm going 90s here, but still they might be on online groups these days, probably more so. But so they're
Hmm.
taking courses and they're learning stuff. And I'm not demeaning it, guys. I'm sorry if it sounds that way because I definitely like, what do I sound like I'm demeaning people? All right. But no, that's where they are at right now is
Yeah.
there's point. So, but they're not really deep diving, like their spiritual practice at this point. Maybe they do a little yoga, but like they don't really have like these real altered states that much, or if they do, it's much more sporadic right now. But
Hmm.
they're before they're driving people, they're doing a lot of stuff. Maybe they are very active. Maybe they got a great business going or a career. What would be some of your general recommendations for people like, I don't know, there's something for me to access and I want to get more connected and people say meditate, but I don't know. And what would you start recommending for someone like
Yeah.
that?
Okay. I'm getting into, let's break in three important tips for these people.
Hmm.
This is three important tips for everybody. Everything I'm saying applies to everyone. So first off, uh, spirituality, write this one down, circle it. Intimacy is the key word. What do I mean by intimacy? I mean, intimacy means closeness, intimacy with life. And so let's get into three parts of life. This is like 1A, B, C. So you want to get intimate with your understandings with how life works, right? And then there's like intimacy with how you're doing in your relationships, like really any kind of relationship, like your friends, your partners, your ch children, your coworkers. And then there's something that most people don't think about, but intimacy with how your consciousness work and understand that your consciousness has parts. And we're going to go a little bit deeper into parts because life is a wholeness. It's all connected, but undeniably we got different parts. Like you're a different part of the. My view is we're all God talking to each other to know what we mean to be alive. That's how I make sense of it. We're all the spirit, but we're also unique and different. We have different skills and but at some level we're all the same and also we're different. So it's honoring both. But the thing for these people to do is to understand that we have parts and part of you has a higher self. Now, some people might call it, the soul or the Holy Spirit. You know what I mean? There's every tradition's got a name for it, but let's just go with higher self, okay? Everybody has a part of them that's like, knows a little bit better. So what we want to do is to talk to that part, right? And that part does thrives when you're in a good flow state. So these two things come together. So what for each person, when do you really feel like one with life? Like you just feel like things are working. What is your personal formula to get into this high altered state? Let's just call it, unless you're in it all the time, what is it? So any person, you don't have to do a psychedelic to do it, although those can kind of take you there pretty quickly, but maybe you eat healthy and you go for a run, you put on your favorite music, and boom, he's feeling psyched about being live, right? So what is your personal formula to get into your higher self, right? So that's good, but that's not alone to how to turn into high performance. How you turn into high performance is you give that once you get into that state, you give it permission, consent. Another big word. Consent is big permissions. You give permission for that part to teach you something that's going to help you move towards your goal. So let's before you might want to think of what do you really want to do? What if you had to pick something that's going to be good for you and not harmful to other people? I don't advocate for violence against other people, but anything that's just going to make you happier about life that doesn't affect other people in a negative way is good, right? So if you had to pick something like that, you could talk to that higher self, get into a higher state, and be like, "Can you show me what I need to do to move towards being create this situation?" So what you're doing is you're creating a gap. You're kind of identifying I'm here now. So you use this is very specific. This is kind of number two. Like one was like we're getting intimacy with life, and I did that to help you understand life has parts, and we want to get into the higher self. So just to bring it all together, you might say like, can you help me get into a better relationship with life? Can you help me better relationship with people in my life? Can you help me with my dream job or, so, and you kind of like say like higher self, show me. Now, here's the thing that's really important. And this is gonna the last part is underline score, non-attachment to what happens. Because when you're going for a like something your high performance, sometimes you can get it like right away. Sometimes it might take years. I don't know. It depends on what you're doing. If I'm like, boom, I want to be an astronaut and I don't have any astronaut training or anything, that's a big gap, right? But I'm just saying it
Mhm.
depends. So you don't want to get attached. The goal is to keep moving forward. You want to keep taking baby steps. I know it's cliche, but that's the way life works. And gamify it. If you took a baby step towards your goal, boom, that's a home run. That's a victory. Those baby steps add up. And before you know it, you've got bigger wins. And so this is where you bring in the altered state with the transformation and you make it spiritual because you're moving towards something that's good for you and the world together. And it's a great 1, 2, 3 combination. And you don't have to do psychedelics to do it. You just need to know how to get into a higher state and what to do in it. So that's a very like introductory, basic way to start.
Mhm. Yeah, so I mean, people, yeah, they want to get into this altered state or higher state. I mean, how do they pick the mechanism that would work better for that? I mean, sometimes I always preach meditation. To me, that's
Hmm.
the foundation for pretty much, I mean, everybody, in my opinion. But other people say, "Oh, I can't meditate. I gotta do Tai Chi instead," or what. People have their
Yeah.
different ideas about what they need, and I know there's some validity to it. Maybe that's where they need to be right now, and maybe that's true. But
Hmm.
or people that start meditating, usually they say they need a guided meditation often. I get my mind's just
Hmm.
too crazy, they won't let me sit there. And, I mean,
Hmm.
it's kind of a wild idea, right? That our mind, I started there. I mean, I had a hard time sitting still with my
Yeah.
thoughts. But so we all start where we're starting. So, but yeah, someone's like, okay, what's the point? Like, I got a lot of things to get done, and I'm busy. I better just just go lift some weights or whatever.
Hmm.
Just get to work. Get things going in the morning. I don't know, whatever it is they think they need to do that ends up going higher, a higher priority, right? I need to get to work. I need to get on those tasks. I need to get on those projects. They're
Hmm.
making everything else bigger. My kids, whatever it may be, everything else is bigger is in their minds at this point. So, but
Okay.
yet they know they need to get more connected. They get your goal, right? Like the way you outlined, like, yes, there's these other parts. I need to connect with more my higher self that connects to the all or whatever. And I get it, but like, how do I need to meditate? Do it, is that the be and end all? How do I access it?
Okay, great. Great questions. Okay. So first off, all those practices can be considered spiritual practices. The difference is you have to understand each practice does something different. Okay, lifting weights, great. I mean, first off, it just gives you strengths, and assuming you're stretching and stuff, it can give you more energy. You can even turn it depending on how you're doing weights. You can be very mindful. So there's different kinds of meditation, right? There's like a concentration meditation that's like where you kind of still your mind and you focus on an object. There's mindfulness, which is like you're really aware, you're concentrated on what you're doing in the exact moment. And then there's like what's called Vipassana or insight practices. Like we were talking about earlier, you could actually train your mind to get off your initial interpretation and come up, start fresh every moment. I don't know. I'll see it from multiple perspectives, right? That's a more advanced practice. So let's get into because I like actually all the ones you said, I use all of them. And I like to stack. I'm a stack dude. So I relate to the people out there who feel like you cannot meditate. I was on ADD. I was taking Focalin or whatever, some ADD medication. That's the whole reason I even got into meditation. I didn't even know what I was doing. I started studying this metaphysical guy, Ken Wilber, and he's talks about meditation. And I'm like, I can't get focused to save my life. I'm having trouble with becoming an entrepreneur. I'm taking on too many things. I'm like, oh, maybe I should try this meditation. I didn't know what I was getting into. And sure, I don't know. I stumbled in. Some guy in my integral theory meetup told me, oh, you should study with my teacher, Daniel P. Brown. Turns out he's like asked by the Dalai Lama to bring the secret teachings of Tibet to the United States or to the West. And I stumbled into something good. So I mean, not that all meditations are good, but they're different. So the word
Mhm.
meditation is almost it's a category because there's different kinds of
Right.
meditations.
Like
So let me point.
yoga.
I want to come back to what I'm saying here, and I want to bring in to what you're saying about where to start and stacking because I could not meditate to save my life. I couldn't do the concentration part to save my life. I had to
Mhm.
get my energy up. So literally, this is what I ended up working for me. I ended up
Mhm.
first off, I just knew this was going to be good for me if I ever could master it. And I'm going to explain to you why concentration is really important. So this is what I did. So for people who cannot meditate, listen to me. I even did a podcast on ADD and meditation. So I had to do this. I had to like get some good food. I had to like drink a coffee, and I like lifted weights or I had to do a lot of energy exercises before my system was enough to even start a concentration. And I definitely used a guided meditation. Uh, why would following your breath, concentrating, be a good practice? And I also I do chi also. I brought that in later, but that's also another energy exercise. All of that stuff is good, important. If you like any of those things, keep it. But why meditation? Um, where I was where Daniel, I'd be curious to get your opinion on this. Is what it does is it helps you separate. We talked about parts earlier, about higher self part. What
Mhm.
happens is a lot of people just don't even identify this as part. What do you mean parts? I don't know. I'm just thinking I'm doing stuff. So you want it's really good to start to learn that you're this observer, this witness, and you're separate from your experience, your thoughts, particular thoughts. But sometimes emotion sensations, because what happens is we get caught up in it and we get into what's called reactivity. There's no what bring makes somebody more intel one of the things that people makes more intelligent is taking multiple perspectives on your own experience. That's where you're empowered. So this is what the goal of Buddhism. People think it's a religion. It's not a religion, folks. It's a set of distinctions to master your mind. It's liberation practices. So what are they trying to do is to liberate you specifically from what you always do. That's what the word karma means. Karma means momentum. You have a momentum propensity because of your history, your past. When X happens, I always do Y. Well, maybe Y only gets you so far in life. And if you learn to say no to Y and pick up Z and X and, ABD or whatever, and you put them in a nice combination, boom, you're rapidly headed towards your dreams and making yourself a better version of yourself. So when you separate who your higher self is from these other parts, then you can that's a spiritual practice. And I think the difference when you were describing the people who are reading the books and going to the different online communities versus where I'm taking people, whether they do psychedelics or not, is to get into action, embody it, figure out how to change your being so you crush it in life more than you are now. And the other thing is energy matters. Energy matters a lot. So I think anyone can relate to it. How good are your thoughts in your decision when you just ate a big meal and you're about to pass out versus when you just ate a couple of veggies, you went for a run, and everything's going well. I mean, I think we can all relate to how much better things are. So it's just realizing how important state is and learning to get into having your own personal formulas for higher state. Last thing I
Mhm.
want to say is when you get really, really, one of the advantages, you don't have to do it on psychedelics like breath work is another thing, but you can have these peak experiences where, especially when you combine it with like a little meditation, you can start to see what's the programs you made deep in your subconscious, and you can actually uh, reprogram because you need to actually have intimacy with the patterns that you're actually doing to know exactly what to do to change it. So, as getting back to what I said earlier, intimacy with life is the name of the game.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, for people that, I'll just say like with the psychedelics, well, I do my psychedelics but their ongoing spiritual practices and connections are really weak. Yeah, I mean, like, you're definitely missing. I mean, it's okay, great. Maybe you got some really great growth from the psychedelics, but you're really missing the boat, in my opinion. Like, you're not, I mean, it's almost like I mean, where you start is where you start, right? But then again, it's like in preparation, you talked about there being preparation
Mhm.
before doing the psychedelics. And to me, I don't know the subject in anywhere even a fraction of what you know about all this stuff, but like you would want to start with some spiritual connection and practice before you dive deep into psychedelics, in my opinion. But again, you start where you start because those are the things you're going to tend to maybe potentially anyway, avoid still, even after psychedelics, if you don't establish them first, just think like, oh, this is just how I do my spiritual growth. I do these things. So I don't know. For me, I think like you need to really realize that come from a cleaner place because I actually do believe some people chase a high in a sense by those psychedelics. I mean, I think there's no doubt about that. Again, like you said, with recreational use, it's not wrong in a sense, but it's not the highest use, I don't think either.
Yeah, well, you said a lot of important things. Let me pick on it.
Mm,
Measurement of success, I think, is one of the important things. The other thing is you talked about preparation and spirituality. So I would like to just go a little bit on that because I think those are critical things. So
mm,
let's talk about markers for success. Like, are
mm,
you moving towards your goals, right?
mm, mm,
And so that's a big one. Like, are you baby stepping your way towards your desires? And somebody's might say like, well, I don't know what I want. Well, then that's your spiritual edge.
mm,
Maybe to get more clarity on, what you want. And like, I usually break things down to domains. Like, what do you want for your career? What do you want for your romance? What do you want for, money with friends? You want to know where you want to live? What kind of impact you want to have on the world? Your relationship with your body or your mind. These are different domains of life, or even picking up new hobbies, whatever. You want to pick an area. Again, I said this earlier, but I'm going to reinforce the most important things. Precision matters. You could even like, I don't know, you could even ask questions in psychedelic churches like, I don't know what's going on with the politics, help me get clarity on that or whatever. But you want to ask good questions that are very precise. And did you get answers or did you get movement? Movement is really what you're looking for. You're moving towards something. That's success. Whereas, a lot of people just take it and they feel like it's a bypass. They just, well, I felt really good. I got funny things happen, yada yada, but they're not moving anywhere. And so but spiritual practices beforehand, great. Now, but what do we mean by spiritual practices? That's kind of a loaded word. But I think
sure.
I want to break it down into something specific because I think that captures the spirit. You can correct me because I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I actually do agree that preparation for altered states is important. So what do I think are some of the best practices, whether you label them spiritual or not spiritual? I mean, the spirit of things is like, how can you be your best self? That's how I define it, not necessarily as religion. But I think that's what one of the things that religions are trying to do is give you formulas for to understand what life is and how to have the good life, right? I mean, that's kind of the point of it. And there's good stuff in different religions, but a lot of them freeze. That's the problem is it becomes dogma and they believe their own shit instead of double checking it, which is why, if you really understand Buddhism the deepest well, they only have one rule, which is a closed system of openness, which in other words is stay open. Don't make things solid. That's what non-attachment means. Don't reify things. Okay, so that's a good practice for life and for altered states. is whatever happens, it can be interpreted through like a billion different lenses. Don't make it solid because these are the people who get in trouble. They get a message or something happens and then they start obsessing about it and it's negative and it affects their whole life. If you find yours, first off, you can prepare yourself for that potential quote unquote bad trip by reminding yourself before you go it, this will end. And this could be interpreted through a million different lenses, like unlimited lenses, right? Before you do it, I would say those things 10 times and say it afterwards 10 times. And if it's, this is again integration. If you feel like it's made your life worse, go talk to somebody. There's a
Mhm.
lot of people who can help you. I can help you, but there's a lot of integration therapists, and you could even use AI now. Um, just I would go into be how you use it's everything, but like for example, go into AI. Like let's say you don't have a lot of money for an integration therapist, you don't know anyone, but AI is free. There's a free version. You could just be like, Dear Chat GPT, I just did an altered state. This is my interpretation of what happened. I want to ground. I want to feel safe. Can you help me integrate this in a way that's going to help me move forward? And it'll come up with good answers. If you ask it kind of like I did. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. And so there's no reason in these time with these tools that people need to get stuck on these negative interpretations that affect it. If you do it in an altered state, whether it's on Psychos or not, and you find yourself looping or spinning because you can't integrate it. Usually that means you can't digest the experience. There's something about it that your mind is confused about, and that's fine. Uh, to talk to somebody else who's better, whether it's AI or human. I mean, human with experience is ideal, but AI is out there now, and if you ask the right questions, like I just said, you could really integrate it. So, I want to get one more thing. This is a really important thing because this has to do with your thing about spiritual practices. Energy has a deep influence on what you think. So anything, this is getting back to Buddhist thing, this idea of sense of self. Our sense of self is going to change depending what kind of mood we're in or what kind of environment we're in. There's no fix what they say, no self. There's no fix, and all of us got some sort of wound where we felt like a loser or a jerk or we hated ourselves, whatever, shame, guilt, something, whatever. Everybody's got stuff like that. That's not you. That's just you in a state. So a good spiritual practice before you go into altered states is reminding that when I'm in a different energy state, things look different, and neither the high energy state or the low energy state is you. It's just you plus energy and context, and that's a real deep spiritual practice to know that not just conceptually, but in your bones, so you never forget it. So that's one of the advantages of someone who does do altered states is it can take you into different places, and the contrast can remind you. Okay, especially with the right protocols like I'm giving people right now, none of them are you. You're now, and you're affected by different energies, but it helps us it has the potential to shake loose the stories that keep us in limiting patterns. Anyways,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people, they'll do a trip or whatever, and they'll be like, I don't know. I think I'm a spiritual wizard and all this, whatever. So, I mean, but in a way that like is true, but is also fantastical in a way that's maybe not real either, right? And so I think it opens people, but then you're right. You have to ground. I mean, uh,
Hmm.
and so I think that's difficult sometimes because people are like so searching for connection and joy and happiness and expansion, and when they feel it, it's like don't put it, don't pop the balloon now, and they think it's
Mm.
a downer, right? Like, yeah, you are one with the whole universe, and you're feeling like so like over the moon about it. Okay, but now you need to embody that, you need to ground it, embody it, and I think like that's
Hmm.
where, on the back end of doing things like psychedelics or altered states in any way you do it, there's so many ways that could happen. You could be, looking at a flower or looking out, outside your window and you could go in a massive altered state. I mean, it could happen just by being
Hmm.
observant. just by being in the
Yes.
moment. So
Nature
I
mysticism, I call
Right.
that. Yes.
Yeah, so many different ways. I think like that's where the having a guide like yourself to help, with the journey is really big because you don't know what to do. You feel like, I don't know, like I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna, what I don't know, like I'm do so, do all these ungrounded things that, maybe that's the direction, but maybe you're jumping the gun because like
Yeah.
you know what? Let's just fire like half the employees. We're going to do this. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe it is the right move, but maybe you're not grounded either, right? Like it maybe, just like downloads themselves. I got a download, right? Like everybody gets downloads, and they assume
Yeah.
because of the download, it must be the thing to do for 100%, And it isn't always. It's just a download.
Yes.
It's getting you aware of something, right? It sounds like
Yes.
you're tracking with what I'm laying down. You track with that kind of idea. Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, that's you. What you're saying is all very mature. You have a mature spiritual perspective, which is in these expanded states, we generate possibility.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're downloads, they're visions. Sometimes they take us into suppressed material. Sometimes it's gibberish. I don't know. Like not everything has to have meaning. Some people get like, I don't know, they say they see like clockwork elves or colors. You can have a lot of ranges. And, grounding is really important. This is where the integration is. Like, what does it mean? It's good to this is where I'm gonna go there. Like, it's good if you're gonna work with somebody. Like, some people are like have barely ever had a psychedelic experience, and they want to like they're getting certificates and they're trying to like make money. It's all right. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but somebody like myself and other people who both have been all over the map with it and can relate to like I've been where you've been, trust me, brother or sister, I know what that's like and I was there and I share that, but then I have experience with bringing it into the real world and how, and some of us have gone there and learned those lessons to come back and be like, okay, so I don't know. I've been called right now to move to community building because I think it's getting more popular, which is potentially dangerous, but potentially awesome depending on the details. I mean, I'm gonna reinforce this again. The details are everything in all of life, but certainly psychedelics because everything's amplified. It's bigger, right? You get into these states and boom, you get these way out perspectives like, oh, I was a spiritual wizard or whatever. And your
Right.
spirit might be telling you, like, yes, that's true when you do all your growth and only in certain contexts.
Right.
Like for example, like I'm a shaman. When I say what I mean by a shaman is I can give people experiences that shift their perception about themselves in a world that's positive for them. That's like very kind of very specific. It's not some sort
Yeah.
of delusion or it's a skill that I have. But do I
Mhm.
walk around with using it all the time? It's like, no, that's a hat, a role I'll put on when they give me permission. It's a permission slip. Like if I'm working with you one on one and I know your psyche and I know what you need and you've given me permission because you trust me, I could put that shaman hat on and give people a wizard experience that really shifts them. But that's about building relationship rapport. That's grounded. But just saying, going out there like, woo, look at me, I'm so great, not grounded, right? So
But
I'm
the
just
guy
giving people
behind
some
you,
examples.
he thinks he's just so great. No, I'm just joking.
Well, this guy behind me is he's a logo. He's a teacher and he represents the things we've been talking about. How to this is my personal philosophy for human flourishing. Master your mind, master your energy, and master the patterns of life is what this one stands for. And then anyone can feel like a wizard. It's not that I'm a wizard, it's that I've studied 55 years and lots of things and like, so this is something I've dealt with a lot. And I'm glad you brought this up, which is about this inner conflict of being humble and then like not saying anything about spiritual attainment, or like letting my friends know, like, hey, I'm not some Eastern guru. I just studied a lot, and I want you to know what's possible for you. So it's like
Right.
Some part of me is like, if you shut your pie hole and don't tell people about a lot of the cool stuff you did through hours and hours of training and lots of teachers, you're not showing people what's possible. You're doing the world a disservice. So I've gone through both sides of that. Like it took me a long time to talk about skills I ascertained and legitimately built up over decades. It's not like I snapped my fingers and did ayahuasca and suddenly I was a different person. It's like anything but that. So I want to say this for people who want to ascend on the spiritual path, whether you do altered states or not. And I'm sure I'll let Daniel speak for himself, but practice, practice, practice. You need to have a vision of where you want to go and specific practices that are going to close the gap from where you are now to where you want to go. And they might or might not include psychedelics, but probably altered states in some form, including meditation is also an altered state practice. So it's a slightly different form, but um, getting into different states get you out of patterns. Because if you want to do transformation, it's about getting out of patterns, and changing your state can help you do that. Go ahead.
Right. Right. So, I mean, there's just so many ways we can go with this whole
Yes.
conversation today. It's just so much. I know, like, there's so many different psychedelics too, and that would be a whole nother show, right? So, who knows? Maybe we'll do a part two someday. But
Yeah, I
anyway,
love
for
that.
now, like, if people want to, learn more about what's possible for them, through what you teach, your wizard abilities, your shaman abilities, whatever all what you want to call it, and wisdom and knowledge with psychedelics and they want to they want to have to be able to access more to be able to have the ability to access more of who they are and they know that's a key to high performance like I need to access more of my energy or more of
Hmm.
clarity or more of like the vision for my soul in my life. I don't know, what it is, and
Hmm.
I can't sense it or I can't, feel it or whatever. So like, that would be all part of. I think, so many things can happen. I'll just share this briefly because I keep being
Hmm.
kind of called to say this today.
Yeah.
Yesterday, like, and again, everything's stacked, so it's not one day, but like. Yesterday, I did some energy scans for people. Then I did a big call, and I was bringing tons of energy to this call. And then I did tons of a bunch of energy scans and clearings and activations
Hmm.
for and then at night I did more energy scans. So I was a real active day. And then on top of all the usual, personal development, spiritual practices I do and everything. And so when I woke up this morning, like I didn't even like people say you need X amount of hours. It's like that's just so much bullshit. Like
Yeah, I agree.
I finally am just going to declare it. How much sleep you need depends on a bunch of factors, like
Yes.
so-called so, because like I didn't get that much sleep, but today, like it was almost like, what happened? Like my level of mental acuity just like whoop, like just went way up. It's just like,
Yep.
oh, like the words I'm reading are like sinking into my consciousness at a whole nother level. And so, and I'm stronger and calmer in the face of, different things. Even like with the getting set up for this podcast. I mean, I would have been more
Hmm.
worked up about it in the past. I mean so many things that came up today already,
Hmm.
a couple different things. And I just like, okay, it was a storm still, but it just passed much quicker. And that's what I find the more we ascend, right? We go higher and that creates higher performance, because any of these things could just totally divert me. All right, let's cancel the podcast. Let's do the, let me just take the whole day to go deal with this situation or whatever. And I'd be totally off my game, if I didn't
Hmm.
have connection I have, right? So I just share that with people because I know there's, when you do start to master your ability to access what's possible for you by raising your energy through altered states, what we're calling altered states, I mean, you will raise your performance. And I can just say I've experienced a lot of that, through all the years I've been at this too. So, and I just wanted to say that, whether you're using
Hmm.
psychedelics or not. So anyway, just wanted to
But
share
you
that.
meditate a lot, right? I mean, you have other energy
Yeah.
practices. You have other ways to get into an alter state, which I am strongly in favor of using other methods for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and then I do channel prayer, energy. I mean, energy scanning, energy healing. Those are altered states, big time. I
Yes.
mean, and when you utilize them properly, like they really will expand and increase your energy. Now, if you let yourself take on energy and all that stuff, that's a whole. Now you might feel bogged down, even eventually, even more bogged down. But if
Hmm.
you're cleansing your energy, you're releasing the energies, you're doing all your practices, then your energy it will increase your energy. So you have to do things in a proper way. And I think like, although yes, we have like AI and everything, there's nothing like having a human, guide at the same time.
Hmm.
It's not either or, right? It's both. It's like, let's use all of it, and you mess around with the AI, get certain answers, then you go to your coach or whatever, your guide, and you're like, oh, they were telling me this and that. What do you think about, and then you get the human perspective, which is going to be
Hmm.
different. And with AI, I'm always like correcting it about certain things. I'm like,
Oh
that's
yeah,
not
absolutely.
good. And by the way, right? And then it's like, and then it usually always says to me, "Oh, you're so right. That's really smart." I don't know if it's just trying to be nice to me, but like,
No, no, I have the same experience.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right. I think it's a kind of its thing to do that. But so yeah. So
Oh
if
no,
people,
I mean I just want to say that way just really quick about the AI because people think
Mhm.
AI is smarter than us. BS. This is never going to be smarter than a human. I think it's a bunch of crap. However, it can do certain things really well. So that there are smarter uses. That's a whole other topic. But but people get lost in thinking AI is God. Nonsense.
Right, right.
It's a
Yeah, I've been told
tool
some.
that when used intelligently, can make your life better, but it could also fuck up your life if you don't know how to use it intelligently.
Oh yeah, big time. Well, let's just listen to AI. Good luck.
Yeah,
Good
that's
luck.
yeah.
I pity
Discernment.
you.
Discernment
I
is
really
the
pity
name of
you.
the game. Yeah. Go ahead.
So people want, to, learn more about you or just contact you and are like, well, I'm really interested. I want to learn more about like what's possible for
Hmm.
me on such a track of, increasing my ascension, my performance, what have you, through altered states. And I've been wanting to do, ayahuasca or whatever, like whatever it is, like where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, I'm gonna give people three different ways. First off, my website, www.mozenter, mozenter.com. Lots of free stuff. There's all kinds of other podcasts, presentations I've give. My, psychedelics are on there a lot, but also just transformation. That's my number one thing is the process of transformation and using psychedelic tools. Number two, YouTube also tons of stuff. Just at Mozenter on YouTube. Uh, and then you can email me at jonathan@mozenter.com. So it's JONATHN at MOZENTER.com. You can see it on the screen there. Easy to do. I want to point out, so I'm in a big expansion phase. So I do work with people one on one. I work with it's always about transformation, and a lot of my clients use psychedelics, but not always. It's not like we're doing them on every session. It's good to have a long-term relationship, especially like you're doing like leadership. I have a whole background in organizational development. Most of my clients come to me like for real life change. It's like I want to jump careers, I want to make a jump, or like a lot of relationship stuff comes up. But they're ready to do a transformation. And now I'm adding, this is coming next month. I'm going community. I'm going to have like an online course so they can read about it. And then the people in the course going to have an opportunity in a group to meet with me a couple times a month, and I'll answer their questions, how to prepare for your psychedelics. And if people want to do add-ons and do like a coaching session for preparation or integration, that'll be available. So just message me at my email, and if you're interested in some of that, and that will be reasonably priced. I'm looking forward to building a community of people and getting into this one to many kind of route, and I'm excited. So thanks for having me on the show. Maybe I'd love to come back again and talk about other parts of psychedelics or other parts of transformation. That's my jam. I always enjoy our time together.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, just connect with Jonathan. I think that's the thing to do, and then that you can really get whatever it is that you need, whether it's, within a community or if he can one-to-one help you or whatever may be the case. You guys will figure it out. But if you're feeling the calling to reach out to him, to go ahead and do it. Like just like if you're called to psychedelics, right? I'm feeling the call in. I'm feeling the call in to contact Jonathan, and then you do it. That's the path of expansion for you right now. So, all right. So, Jonathan, appreciate you coming on the show today. We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up in a moment here, actually, at this point. So, any last words of wisdom for the audience?
Yes. One quickie, quick perspective take. Doesn't matter your alter states or not. This is an alter state. Everything serves you. Start there. And sometimes it won't always be obvious, but if you start from that place, your life will go better.
100%, I agree. Awesome. Okay, Jonathan, thanks so much for coming on today. This is awesome.
All right. Thanks, Daniel. Appreciate it.
And to the audience, keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till the next time.
For listening to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.